Okay, continuing with the subject of death, I want to look at can we contact the dead? Can we really contact the dead? Uh, should we attempt to contact our dead relatives and friends? The short answer is no. But God has lots to say about the effort to make contact with the dead. God lets us know in His Bible that it is not possible for us to contact the dead. Um, and goes on to explain the great spiritual dangers that are lurking for anyone that attempts to do so. What are these spirits, beings that mediums and channelers and psychics and others are contacting? Making contact with a spirit is to make contact with a disembodied being. The Bible tells us that being is a familiar spirit, a demon. People have a desire to contact their dead friends or relatives for various reasons and looking for information on the future. They end up contacting a familiar spirit who has known the person in question all their life and misleads and lies. Channelers make contact with spirit beings other than the dead, such as fallen angels, enlightened beings, or advanced spiritual beings. They allow the spirit to speak through them and relay the message to the person involved. The channelers and others who contact the dead work through what the Bible calls familiar spirits, and these will be explained shortly. What does God have to say about contact with the dead? It is prohibited, as we see in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 10 through 14. This shows us that we should never inquire of a wizard, a witch or sorceress, a soothsayer, an astrologer, or fortune teller, or actually that we should not deal with anyone who consults with familiar spirits. Let's take a look at the biblical meaning of these words. Divination is an act of obtaining secret knowledge, and especially a knowledge of the future. It means to give false prophecy or to seek to determine the will of the gods by examining and interpreting omens. And that's in Ezekiel chapter 21, verse 21. What about the observer of times? That's one who foretells the future by observing the times, mentioned in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 26, 2 Chronicles chapter 33, verse 6. And in 2 Chronicles 33, 6, we find what an enchanter is. And that's one who tells the future based on signs or omens. That could be a palm reader, a fortune teller, or an astrologer who proclaims to tell their future by the movement of the stars. A witch is one who summons a spirit by magical power, one who practices magical incantations. A witch is also referred to as a sorceress. God's instructions in Exodus chapter 22, verse 18 was to not suffer a witch to live. And then there's a charmer, and that's one who casts spells through chanting, or one who ties knots, who binds other people by magic mutterings. And then there's a consulter with familiar spirits. That's one who professes to call up the dead to answer questions, such as a psychic or medium. A fortune teller, a seance leader, a sorcerer, a necromancer, a witch, a wizard, a enchanter, etc. A consulter is one who contains the demon summoned up. This demon spirit that is summoned up is a spirit that is familiar with a dead person, having been with him during their life. So these spirits are evil, and they are the fallen angels of the Bible. And we're told about that in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31, and chapter 20, verse 27. And then in Leviticus 20, verses 5 through 6, and verse 27, we see information about a wizard. And it's used of those pertaining to be wise and supernatural power or intelligence, and is the masculine of a witch. A necromancer is one who inquires of the dead. This is a consulter that attempts to contact the dead for advice or information on the future, or help in manipulation. It was a necromancer that contacted Samuel, if you remember, in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 7. Samuel's spirit came forth when summoned, but his spirit came forth not by the power of the devil nor the incantation to the woman with a familiar spirit. That the actual spirit of Samuel came forth instead of the familiar spirit was a total surprise to her. And that's in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 12. God did not hold the woman responsible for this incident. He did hold Saul responsible for consulting the woman with a familiar spirit. And that's told to us in 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verses 13 through 14. Some occult magic is often fraudulent and is just deceitful illusion, of course. Other instances of occult magic are the manifestations of demonic powers or the result of demon possession. Many of the instances of people having familiar spirits include things that are against the doctrine of Christians. If one follows a path of magical arts, they're on the wrong path and on a path that leads away from God and to an everlasting lake of fire. This is the purpose of the misleading doctrines taught by these demons. And that's explained in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 through 14, and Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19. God has obviously condemned seeking information from those who deal with familiar spirits. These are evil and provide an avenue for the entrance of demons into a person's life. Divination, transcendental meditation, visualization, necromancy, and witchcraft all provide an entrance into our life and are to be avoided. God will provide all that we need and has provided a way to deal with the devil and his demons. He has given the believer the armor of God. This is a spiritual armor for a spiritual warfare. And you'll find that armor mentioned in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 through 18. And thank you for listening.